it's Anne Marion, and welcome to my first ASMR video. Today we'll be reading codex from the game Dragon Age: The Veilguard, specifically entries from the Morn Watchers to fit the mood of our location, called the Memorial Gardens in the Necropolis Halls. I would like to preface this video by giving a spoiler warning. If you have not yet played Dragon Age: The Veilguard, please skip this video, as some of the codex entries give away some events in the game. Thank you. To add a little more to the background of the Morn Watchers, I'm going to talk about our lovely companion in the game, Emmerich Volkaren. Emmerich Volkaren is a necromancer scholar that takes the task of protecting innocents from the occult as seriously as his interest in the mysteries of the Fade and his studies. After his parents died in a building collapse, he was taken in by the Morn Watch, which he later joined and has been a member of for at least 30 years. He is a wisp turned into a skeleton assistant named Manfred, who makes him tea and helps him with other tasks. A distressing sight. How I regret visiting Amaranthine today. I'd set out to explore a chantry described in one of Brother Padine's travelogues. Harding came along, but somehow had her fill after only a few minutes. While inspecting some exquisite mosaics, I spotted a funeral procession through a window. I watched, frozen fast, as the mourners fed a shroud into a bonfire. Harding didn't understand why it looked green. Don't these outside Navarra ever find it heartbreaking, dwelling on the departed without the comfort of a body? Even their ashes are scattered to the wind. From Emmerich's diary. A Watcher's Duty. It's little known outside Navarra that while the term Mortalitasi has come to refer to every necromancer from our kingdom, we join different circles and orders within it. The Morn Watch alone has the privilege of overseeing the Grand Necropolis. We would fight from beyond death itself to fulfill our obligations to the funeral dead, which is why it was so appalling when Ev asked, "So what really goes on here all day?" The internment and preservation of an entire kingdom's dead is a monumental undertaking. Surely she doesn't believe we idle away the hours. Perhaps Nev imagines something more sinister. I've noticed our investigator from Deventer stares longest into the shadows. From Emmerich's diary. From Myrna on rediscovering the gardens. Dear Professor Volkaren, thank you for your missive. Your discovery of the new location of the Memorial Gardens is most fortunate. We feared the next public days of mourning would have to be held adjacent to the charnel pyramids, which remain disagreeably cursed. I've recommended they undergo a lustration before next equinox. I regret to inform you that a potion of the Pulsa Paipugum has vanished. Its disappearance was more violent than the typical reshuffling of the necropolis. We will send word if it returns. Cordially yours, Watcher Myrna, Keeper of the Seals. Hesinga's note, necromancy's potential. What the necromancers of the Grand Necropolis fail to understand, again and again, marches aren't even worth considering after the disaster in Kirkwall. We, Navarra, have the only mages to specialize in the very art of life and death itself. Yet none of the doddering rulers of our little kingdom has the slightest interest in what we could accomplish. Misconceptions about the Necropolis. No one has more respect for Brother Genitivi's scholarship than I, but his writing on Navarra details very little of the practices of the Grand Necropolis. The more I travel, the more I'm convinced these Elysians have led to unfortunate conclusions by people of less than generous imagination. For example, we do not lock up our dead to pound fruitlessly against their coffins in the dark. Our departed lie in peaceful state, or even wonder. The undead tableau are loving constructions, not dress up with corpses. And in the event a malign spirit causes a disturbance, we don't simply throw them in a tomb and toss the key. Sometimes I think Warden Davrin crafts these questions to tease me. From Emmeric's diary. Emmeric, note to Harding on souls. It wasn't a silly question at all. There's an enormous difference between a spirit and a soul, but the metaphysics are rarely taught outside mage circles. A soul is the richly numinous force within every living being. You and I, our companions, our opponents, all possess a soul. When we slumber, it slips into the Fade, our most intimate connection with the lands of dreams. A spirit is an entity formed entirely in the Fade from raw magic. While both dwell in intangible regions, a trained mage will never mistake one for the other. I've found Craverton's Dialogue of the Order reaches to be the best starting book on the subject, if you'd like to peruse his absolutely gripping theories on autogenous liminality. On death. I never thought I could teach Emmerich anything about magic, but the other day he got really excited when I told him about Avar spirits I saw in the Frostback Basin. You remember me writing about that? He did know that Avars believe in reincarnation. The Mournwatch likes learning about different death customs. It made me ask him what the Watchers think happens after you die. He got all pensive and kind of sad and said not even they know for sure. That must be so frustrating, for that to be your whole life and not even know. I'm going to try to cheer him up with a hike. Hikes always make me feel a little better. From a letter by Harding to her ma. The dawn of consciousness. Let us consider wisps, and urges slighter than wisps. When do these forces, I dare not call them beings at this juncture, begin to change? How does one discern the slow shift from pure magic to that which can name its own interests? What begets a spirit's own self-reflection? These questions are the moral bedrock of necromancy, ever present and vital. They reveal the dignity inherent to us all, mortal and otherwise, by their answers. The beginning of a monograph by Professor Emmerich Volkaren, The Dawn of Consciousness, an exploration of the nature of the wisp. interested in Polara. I heard this around the fire a few times as a child. Emmerich. Many ages ago, there was a spirit that longed to see the world where people dwelled. Others of its kind warned that it would find no welcome, but the determined spirit set out to see what it could see. It first visited a kingdom in the south, where it found people grieving by a pyre. They cried out, "We know you, thief of life, of bodies, of peace." They hid themselves, and receiving no welcome, the spirit left. Next, it visited a kingdom in the north, where it found people grieving by a flaming bier. They cried out, "We know you, destroyer of fortune, of fame, of livestock, and servants." They cast it out with magic, and the spirit left. Then it visited a kingdom of the Middle Lands and found people grieving by a grave. When they saw the spirit, they cried out, "We know you, bringer of knowledge, help meet to our dead." And they held it a banquet and had it stay the night. The spirit returned to its brethren and told them of its warm welcome in the Middle Kingdom. So more visited, and the Middle Kingdom honored the spirits by inviting them into their dead. With the spirits' help, the kingdom prospered. This is how it was in old days, and we remember it still. Tragedy writ in stone. I can't believe we found the remains of famed architect Sir Godry. His ancestors were the original builders of Blackthorn Manor. Godry was said to be close to finishing his life's work, repairing the estate to its original grandeur. When the Blackthorn sent word of his crushingly tragic accident, one wonders. The youngest of the Blackthorns was said to be a jealous man. Or perhaps Godry uncovered something unseemly in the vaults. Once we ferried his remains back to the Necropolis, I must have a chat with the man. From Emmerich's diary. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I helped you relax and get into a state that you either can study, work, or sleep. I hope to make more videos, so if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.